Too clever.
Receiving no reply to my ring and finding the door unlocked, I went in,
said Albert Lynch.
Dawson was seated at his desk, shot through the head. Seeing he was dead, I called the police and remained here.
Touch anything, Lynch?
Asked Professor Forney.
No, sir, nothing.
Positive of that, are you?
Absolutely, sir.
The professor made a careful examination of the desk and found Dawson had been writing a letter, at the bottom of which, and covered by the dead man's hand, was a pen message. A. L. D. T. and weakly trailed off. Further examination disclosed several kinds of writing paper: a pen tray holding the recently used pen, inkwell, eraser, stamps, letters, and bills. The gun from which the shot had been fired was on the floor by the side of the chair, and the bullet was found embedded in the divan. After a few questions, Forney was quickly convinced of Lynch's innocence.
What do you make of it, Professor?
Inquired Inspector Kelly.
Though the scrawled note certainly looks like Dawson's writing, I'm sure an expert will find it isn't. I'm not surprised to find the gun free of prints. Pretty thorough job, this. Good thing for you, Lynch, and for us too, that the murderer was careless about something.
Right.
Said Kelly.
But you aren't such a wise old owl, Forney. This is like the Morrow case we handled, remember?
Good for you, Inspector.
Laughed the professor. How did both men so quickly determine that the incriminating note had not been left by Dawson? The key to understanding why Professor Forney and Inspector Kelly quickly determined that the incriminating note had not been left by Dawson lies in the details of the writing materials and the context of the scene. Pen and ink. The note was written in ink. During the 1930s, fountain pens were commonly used, and writing with ink required a bit of time and effort. If Dawson had been shot through the head, he would not have had the time or motor control to write a coherent message. The note supposedly written by Dawson would have been smudged, shaky, or incomplete, reflecting the sudden nature of the fatal injury. Hand position and blood. Dawson's hand was covering the note. If he had written the note after being shot, the positioning of his body and hand would be unnatural. Moreover, there would likely be blood smeared on the paper from his wound, but that detail is not mentioned. Context of the scene. The arrangement of the desk items, several kinds of writing paper, a pen tray, inkwell, eraser, stamps, letters, and bills, suggests a deliberate setup rather than a hasty action by a dying man. The murderer had the presence of mind to arrange these items and clean the gun of fingerprints, indicating careful planning rather than an impulsive act by the victim. Historical reference. The mention of the Morrow case implies that Forney and Kelly had encountered similar setups in the past. This historical context suggests they had experience recognizing staged crime scenes and forged notes. Given these points, Forney and Kelly quickly realized that the note was likely forged by the murderer to frame Lynch, rather than being a genuine last message from Dawson. The meticulous staging of the scene, and the lack of natural indications of a hurried, dying man's writing, like blood or smudged ink, led them to this conclusion. The murderer tried to give the impression that Dawson had died before finishing the incriminating note. Had he written it and died before completing it, he could not have put the pen back in the tray where it was found. In his effort to incriminate Lynch, the murderer had been too cautious. A costly oversight. Man's caution often into danger turns, and his guard falling crushes him to death. Young.